Welcome back, students. This is the fourth lecture in the chapter of interference. In the previous lecture we had studied about interference and what is required to obtain a steady interference pattern. The condition required to obtain a steady interference pattern we had seen last time is that the sources of light which interfere have to be coherent, and the meaning of coherent sources is that either the phase difference between them or the path difference between them must remain constant with time. Now, how can we obtain coherent sources? So that's the next part of this chapter. Okay, so can two separate sources of light be coherent? Suppose I have two bulbs. Okay, two separate bulbs. Can the light from these bulbs, separate bulbs, be coherent? Can the light emitted from these two separate sources of light, independent sources of light, can it be coherent? The answer is no. Okay, this is two independent sources cannot be coherent, because even though these bulbs may be exactly having the same rating, same wattage, same voltage they work on, they are connected to the same power supply, they are manufactured by the same company also must be, but even though the manufacturing process is same, there always are some minor differences between these two sources of light, between those two bulbs, which you might not be able to see with the physical eye, okay, naked eye. But there are some minor changes in them, because of which the light emitted from these two sources will never be coherent. If some change takes place in source 1, it need not simultaneously take place in the source 2 because of these minor changes in them. So therefore, two sources of light, independent sources, can never be coherent. So then the question is then, how can we obtain coherent sources? There are different methods of obtaining these coherent sources. So we'll study them one by one. So the first type of method, the category of methods of obtaining coherent sources is called as division of wavefront methods. Okay, so there are quite a number of these methods of obtaining coherent sources under this category called as division of wavefront. So under this, the first simplest one, which you have already much have studied in your earlier classes, it's a very simple experiment, common experiment. It's the double slit experiment. Okay, double slit. So you must have heard about the Young's double slit experiment. So how do we form a double slit? So suppose you have to make a double slit, all you have to do is you have to take a piece of cardboard or a plate, metal plate must be, and make two holes in it, two tiny holes in them. So suppose I have a metal plate or a piece of cardboard, I make two holes in them. So this is my piece of cardboard and with two holes in them, and suppose I place a source of light exactly at the center here. I place a source of light over here. What is going to happen is the rays of light will come out from these two slits. The rays of light will come out from these two slits. And they come out this way. Okay, so if you are a person standing from the right side over here and observing, you will not be able to see this source S. All you will see is light coming out from these two holes. So you will think that there are actually two sources of light over there, S1 and S2. Each slit in this cardboard or in the metal will act like a separate source. Now, these two sources S1 and S2 will be coherent. Why? Because they have been obtained from a single source. That's the only way we can obtain coherent sources. We cannot have coherent sources from two independent sources. So the only way of obtaining coherent sources is take one source and split it into two or more parts. So the first method is by using a double slit. So we take a single source and we split it into two parts by placing a double slit in front of it. So two sources are seen. Now these two sources are coherent. Why? Because they have been obtained from a single source. If some change takes place in this source S, it will be reflected in both the sources S1 and S2 at the same time. So any changes taking place in S1 will also take place simultaneously in S2. So therefore the two sources S1 and S2 will be coherent. When is this double slit experiment used? It is used in the Young's double slit experiment, which you have already studied, and you also know the interference pattern. It consists of alternate dark and bright lines, fringes. So this is the place where the double slit is used. The next method of obtaining coherent sources by this division of wavefront method is the mirror. A simple mirror can be used to split one single source into two sources. So how this is done? We have a, let us say we have a mirror, and suppose I place a source of light in front of it. Let us say I place a source over here S. Now what the mirror will produce? It will produce an image of this source S exactly at the same distance behind it. S dash will call this S. So this is the virtual image of the source S. So if again from the right hand side, if you stand someplace and you observe, look at the mirror there, you will no doubt see the original source S, but also you will see the reflection S dash of this source. So now if any change takes place in S, it will also be immediately reflected in S dash. So the two sources will be coherent. Why? Because they have been obtained from a single source. S dash has been derived from S. So S and S dash, two sources, will be coherent. Where is this mirror method used, in which experiment? The experiment, Lloyd's mirror experiment. You can look it up in the net. Lloyd's mirror experiment works on the method of obtaining coherent sources using a mirror. There is another method of obtaining coherent sources under the division of wavefront method, and that's using what is called a biprism. Now what is a biprism? A biprism is a combination of two right angle prisms joined back to back. So biprism is something like this. So this is one right angle prism and another right angle prism. They are joined back to back like this. Okay, so this is called the biprism. Now suppose I have a source of light which is placed, let us say, somewhere over here along the vertex of the biprism, exactly along the vertex. So what will happen is the light from this source will fall on one face of the prism this way, and another light will fall on this two surfaces of the biprism, and they will undergo refraction and they will come out from this side like this. So if you observe from the right hand side, you will be able to see two rays of light. It's like two sources S1 and S2. So from one single source S, we obtain two separate sources S1 and S2. And these two sources S1 and S2 will be coherent because they have been obtained from a single source. So biprism method is used in experiment of the Fresnel's biprism experiment. These are all interference experiments which are based on division of wavefront methods. Now the question is, why are these methods, whether it's a double slit or a mirror or a biprism, why they called as division of wavefront method is because of this. What happens is that the primary waves emitted by the original source, it splits up into secondary wavelets like this. So the source S gives out primary waves. When these primary wavefronts, they hit the double slit, the primary waves get split into secondary wavelets like this. So that's why this method is called as the division of wavefront. So the primary wavefront, this primary wavefront gets divided into secondary wavefronts like this. Okay. So therefore these methods, whether it's the same principle happens in the mirror also and the biprism also. So these methods are called as division of wavefront methods. Now these methods have a slight disadvantage. So what's the disadvantage of these methods is that these methods work only if a very narrow source of light is used, a point source of light is used. So either a tiny dot of light or a very narrow slit of light. So you require very narrow source of light for these experiments to work. So now since the source is very tiny, very small, the amount of light coming from these sources will be very low in intensity. So the interference pattern which will be produced, whether it is fringes or whatever pattern is produced, the pattern will be of low intensity. So this interference pattern you will not be able to observe in this normal light conditions. You will have to use a darkroom. So these experiments can be done only under darkroom situation. You cannot do them under normal light conditions. So that's the disadvantage of these methods, and the disadvantage occurs because of the requirement of a point source for these methods to work. So this source here which is used, this source is a point source. Okay, so that's a disadvantage. The other methods, this entire chapter further on will be dealing not on this division of wavefront methods, but the other method which removes this disadvantage, and this method is called as the division of amplitude methods. Okay, so this division of amplitude methods produces a very bright interference pattern. It doesn't require a darkroom to be observed. So what are these methods? Let us see what methods come under this division of amplitude method. What happens over here is that the amplitude of the incident wave or the incident ray of light is split or divided into two or more rays by either partial reflection or refraction. Okay, we will be seeing this in more details as we proceed in this chapter. Okay, so basically there are two methods in this division of amplitude. One is using thin films. So how do we, what is the meaning of thin films, and how we can divide the amplitude of a single wave or a single ray into two or more rays? We will see that later on. So for this moment, let it be as a question mark there. The other method is using a beam splitter. Okay, so using a beam splitter, you can divide a single ray into two rays, two or more rays. How is this done? So using a beam splitter. What is a beam splitter? A beam splitter is basically a simple glass plate, and when a ray of light falls on this glass plate, what will happen to this ray is it will get partially refracted, partially transmitted, and partially reflected down. Okay, so the light will be divided partly into a transmitted ray, and a reflected ray. So this is what the glass plate does. Please note, this is not a mirror here. This is just a simple glass plate. Now, depending on the angle at which the glass plate is inclined, the intensity of these two rays, the reflected ray and the transmitted ray, can be changed. Okay, so if the glass plate is more inclined vertically, the amount of light which is transmitted will be more, the amount of light which is reflected will be less. If the glass plate is inclined more horizontally, the reflected light intensity will be more and the transmitted light intensity will be less. So what is happening here is that the intensity of this incident ray is divided into the reflected ray and the transmitted ray. So that's why this method is called as the division of amplitude method. Now, which are the experiments which are based on these methods? Thin films. We'll be studying these experiments in more details, Newton's rings and thin air wedge. So these are the experiments which use thin films for obtaining coherent sources by division of amplitude, whereas Michelson's interferometer and Fabry-Perot interferometer, these are two experiments which make use of beam splitters to obtain coherent sources by division of amplitude method. As I told you already, the advantage of these methods, division of amplitude methods, is that we can use an extended source of light. You don't require a narrow source, point source. A broader source, extended source can be used. So the amount of light coming from this source is large. So the interference pattern which is produced is also high in intensity. You can do these experiments in normal light conditions. You do not require a darkroom. So darkroom is not required for this method. So this is the advantage of these methods. So students, in this further part of this chapter, will be dealing only with this method, okay, division of amplitude method, and that too only using thin films. So what are thin films? What are different types of examples of thin films? And using a thin film, how we can divide a wave into two or more coherent sources? We'll be seeing that in the next class.